DRAFTFAB got taken down yesterday. This has some major implications on the game. I am not in this video going to be talking about IP infringement or how this relates to money or Talishar or anything of that nature. That is so above my pay grade and over my head. In this video, I just want to focus on how this impacts players. So I think there's like two big things here. One of them is getting people to play more in the flesh and blood, and the other is another case of the rich get richer. I want to first focus on that side of it. I think this is very similar to what I was talking about the other day with the ban list update, where this is just rewarding people that are on big playtest groups, teams, etc., etc. Very similar thing where if you're a part of these groups, this is going to be like a mild nuisance, but it's going to get figured out by these people. They'll find another means to do it, tabletop simulator or something else. It's going to be the same end result for the teams, where the people that do not have access to this no longer have access to accessible practice at any time of the day. DRAFTFAB was a major boon for practicing draft outside of your own local play group. You can only get so far with the people that you play with every week. This lets you practice at any time of the day with anyone across the world, people of varying skill levels. That's really important. You're not gonna just face the same 8 people that you see every week at the armory. Granted, a lot of people are going to have bigger playtest groups than that in their local area. I'm making a point here, but I think you see what I mean. The biggest thing to me with this is I think we need to be lowering the bar of entry for playing Flesh and Blood competitively, not raising it. And this feels like another moment of raising the bar to entry. Fab is really hard. This is a very difficult game, and having access to more tools to practice the game, I think is really important. Having access to information, really important. This is just removing that and making it so more and more people are just going to have to figure it out on their own, and this is not an easy game to just figure it out on your own. Do not recommend. The game's young. Like, we don't have all the information out there, all the articles written, all the backlog of decades of information for people to go back and look at. It's a young game. It's tough. There's no good answer for this, to be fair. I recognize this is not an easy situation for LSS to deal with, and it's very nuanced in everything. I'm just, again, speaking on the impact of players here. The other side of it is the whole aspect of playing the game in the flesh and blood. This is going to help support local communities and make people actually play more in person. And it was really funny. This came off of that, maybe a week ago, someone made a thing on Twitter asking a lot of top players, do you go to your locals? Do you physically play in paper? So it almost felt like this was in reaction to it, because a lot of those people said they don't. I do not feel like this really changes that very much for a lot of people. I think a lot of these people are still going to play online with their test groups on TTS or whatever the replacement for them doing drafts is going to be. Certainly there'll be some amount of uptick of people drafting in paper versus DRAFTFAB. It's not a zero amount of people that are going to draft more in paper. I don't think it's like suddenly like every single person using DRAFTFAB suddenly goes and plays their local armory every week. I don't think that's realistically happening, or even a reasonable amount of the people. And this is a topic I want to talk about in another video, but I wonder if that's even a good thing. Would that hurt local communities, having all the top players suddenly going to armories and just trying to spike everything just because they need to practice? I wonder if that negatively impacts locals, because I imagine a lot of people would go, man, I just don't want to go anymore because X, Y, and Z player is always there, and I can no longer have any shot at getting an armory promo anymore. So if they're just always getting clapped, that doesn't seem reasonable. I genuinely feel like I'm probably in the minority of those types of people. I was one of the people tagged on that thing, not trying to toot my own horn or anything, just I was one of those people. I think I was one of the only people on there that actually said that I go to locals every week. I always go to my armory. And I think it's really important supporting your local community. That's a huge part of the game. The game starts at the LGS. Without that, you don't have a game. That's the backbone of the game, and I recognize that. And it's super important going and supporting the community. And when I go, I do a lot of teaching and stuff like that. But I'm definitely in the minority there. So I don't expect other people to be doing that. And like in my case, DRAFTFAB didn't replace paper drafts for me. It just meant that I got to draft more because I would do my, you know, once or twice a week local armory drafts that I would go to. And then I would go, okay, do I need more practice or do I want to do some shit with my team? I'll do some DRAFTFAB and get some more quality drafts in, which is like a whole nother thing of, there's something to be said of higher quality drafts that you can potentially get online versus with your locals. Like it's different skill levels that you're going to see across people. And you do need some level of that. Like I personally think I get a lot of value out of the range of skill levels of drafts that I get to have, because it means that I'm ready for anything when I go to other tournaments. Like I know that I was unprepared for a lot of that at some of the majors I went to because I wasn't ready for curse shit to happen in a pod. And then the more I drafted, the more I saw curse shit happen and learned how to deal with it. More practice is better, not less. Again, this is the adding a barrier to entry to the game. So yeah, I'm definitely in the minority there. Like I just got to draft more. And that was great. I like drafting. I mean, I don't like drafting in Fab, but I like drafting in general. It's like my favorite format in Magic, but I digress. But I don't believe that this is going to really have a large impact on the amount of people going to draft locally. Like there's going to be a small uptick because some amount of people have no other option. I think DRAFTFAB was like a niche within the community, and of the people doing it, a majority of them were people that really weren't going to draft in person that much anyways, and if they were inclined to draft in person, they probably were anyways already. Another thing is like, what about the people that just don't have a community to draft with, and this isn't changing that? Like they just don't have a local armory scene. It just never picked up in their area, so this is their only option for drafting, and then this person isn't on a team because they're not in an area where the game's popular, so now they just do not have an option for practicing draft unless they personally go out there and build the community themselves, which like I did that. Sometimes you do what you got to do to get the community going, and like that shit's hard. Like when I first started playing Fab, there was like no one playing in the area, put in the work to build the community, but like you can't expect people to actually like go out there and do that. That's such a like difficult thing to do. Your average Joe isn't gonna go out there preaching the gospel of Fab to everyone. I'm not your average person. I'm always preaching. But yeah, I think the whole thing's like a net negative for the game. I can understand where LSS is coming from again with the whole thing. I just want to at least recognize the negative impact this is going to have on people practicing for Worlds and stuff like that. I do think it's pretty ironic though. The set, Bright Lights, is the set of steel and oil, but now we're focusing more on flesh and blood. There's some irony. There's like a joke somewhere in there, but I don't know. What do you guys think on the whole thing? Do you think this is good for the game? Did you guys even use DRAFTFAB? Like, I'm curious how many people actually used it, and I'm also curious, was I in the minority? Am I someone that used it, but also still played in paper a lot? Did this replace it for you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want my thoughts on another Rich Get Richer thing, you can check out my thoughts on the BNR update. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you.